Today's video is sponsored by ZocDoc. Oh, the fracking? Shh. Hey y'all, it's Basilium Shakespeare, and welcome back to Hot or Rat. Today we'll be reviewing episode 6 of Drag Race Philippines' Slaysian Royale, where our 7 remaining Slaysian divas were challenged to impersonate celebrities in the inaugural Snatch Elections, which is basically Snatch Game with a twist. Cause y'all wanted a twist, eh? And the runway category was mythical, creature, couture. And we are, of course, gonna go queen by queen to break all that down, but y'all, Slaysian Royale is unhinged. They are putting the girls through it, and the girls are breaking down. In this episode, we see Siam standing on a table and screaming at the other girls, a Rated Queen mini challenge, which sends multiple queens into tears, and then by the end of the episode, we've got Khianna saying she just wants to give up and go home. What's that I smell? Cracks? Gagarella Spears. And we'll get into all that in just a second, but first some news and tea from the dragosphere. On September 18th, Monet X Change officially announced her engagement to her partner with an Instagram post of the two, featuring a caption that reads, "Locked in," with an engagement ring emoji. So congratulations to Monet for locking one down, which makes her what, the second or third queen to get engaged in the recent months? There must be something in the water. Fracking pollution, perhaps? I'm kidding, of course, but I bring up the fracking because Rupaul did a DJ set this past week in Montreal where she featured fracking visuals behind her DJ booth, which isn't drama so much as it is just flat out hilarious. Because if you don't know, Rupaul had, I guess, a bit of a scandal in 2020 where in an NPR interview, Rupaul discussed the finances of his husband's ranch, saying the ranch is a modern ranch, a 21st century ranch, where you lease the mineral rights to oil companies and you sell water to the oil companies. And Vulture did a piece on this where they reported Gizmodo actually found there were 35 active oil and gas wells on this ranch, which led to environmentally concerned fans to criticize Rupaul for this fracking practice, which is known to not be very good for local water sources and the environment in general. But maybe even more popular than the fracking controversy itself was the clip that went viral in this time where Bob and Monet briefly discussed the topic of fracking on an Instagram live.
Did you see that article from Instinct magazine?
Oh, the fracking?
No, not that.
Oh.
And regarding this controversy, Rupaul later said in an interview, "There's no combination of words I can put together that would soothe the mob." And so yes, now 5 years past this controversy, it is hilarious to see Rupaul trolling people with fracking visuals in his DJ sets, basically giving a middle finger to everyone that criticized him for this practice. But the tea is this ranch belongs to his husband and his family, and Rupaul likely has no say in what does or doesn't happen on this land. But, you know, feel free to, I guess, debate the ethics of all this down in the comments below. Personally, I think RuPaul's net good contribution to the world outweighs some affiliation to fracking, and I think the trolling he's doing here is genius. Isn't drama fun? Until it comes to your health, that is. I turned 30 last year. Okay, well, a year and a half ago, and I found myself needing to visit the doctor more than ever. General checkups, any injury I got skiing, and you know, the random weird skin thing here and there. But every time I've had to book an appointment, I have been met with drama. I was cold calling doctor's offices and being put on hold for hours only to find out that they didn't even take my insurance. And then when I finally got through, I'd find out that the next appointment wasn't available for months. Thankfully, ZocDoc, the sponsor of today's video, removes all the drama from booking an appointment with the doctor. And get this, ZocDoc is totally free to use. With ZocDoc, you can find high-quality doctors that actually take your insurance and instantly book your appointments online. There are over 100,000 healthcare providers on ZocDoc across nearly every specialty. Mental health? Check. Dental health? Check. Eye and skincare? Check. With ZocDoc, you can filter for doctors by insurance, location, specialty, and see reviews from verified patients so you can choose the best care for you. And ZocDoc helps you get appointments fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours, with no need to call a doctor's office and sit on hold for an ungodly amount of time. Visit ZocDoc.com/BusyQueen by clicking my link below to book a top-rated doctor with no drama. That's ZocDoc.com/BusyQueen to book your next doctor's appointment with no drama for free. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring today's video. Which brings us to Drag Race Philippines Slaysian Royale, which kicks off with our queens having a discussion about the elimination of the first Pinoy queen from the competition, Bernie. You'll remember that Brigiding ended up winning the lip sync last week and sent her home. And the gag of the season, or maybe not a gag at all, was that Suki doll had also chosen Bernie's lipstick. And this is all business as usual, but the next day in the workroom, things got a little crazy. Yuhua and Siam are reflecting on their makeover and how they really appreciate how they came together to celebrate their cultures. And Siam, feeling the pressure of the competition, gives a nice little speech about how she's going to clear the energy in the room so that the new Siam can arrive into the competition this week, which of course was well received by everyone in the room. But then she keeps going and increases the intensity of her speech, saying, "I'm standing up for myself. I believe I can do it. I will do what it takes until I die, and then if I die, I will do it again and again to get the crown." And I'm sitting there watching the episode thinking, okay, go off. Like, she's really getting into this. Like, show the other girls you're serious. Yeah, take a bite, take a bite. Sour candy. But then she kept going. She hit the rest of the queens with an, "Are you ready for me? Because I'm so ready," where she then stands on the workroom table and declares, "I am Siam. I'm ready to win. This is me, the new me. I'm happy to be the new me," among other things. But y'all, she was full volume screaming with an intensity I have never seen somebody bring to the show like that. She keeps getting louder and louder, escalating the intensity of what she's saying, and you can tell that most of the queens in the room at this point are confused, or at least a little concerned, and maybe a little bit scared, but where we can also see Yuhua looking at her and clapping, maybe thinking that Siam's doing a bit. But I left this sequence of events not really sure if what I saw was a bit or her having some sort of crazy breakdown. Like, was she possessed by a spirit? Did she talk to God? Was she having a mental breakdown? I don't know. But she certainly did spook the other queens, and Venus DeLuxe in particular reacted really strongly to this whole thing, where we hear her say in a confessional that she thought Siam had a dark energy during this outburst, and later elaborates that she wants nothing to do with Siam because she thinks that she's a witch. And where she then talks about how she had a previous friendship with somebody who was a witch that was cursing and hexing people and buying potions. Like, girl, I don't know what was going on, but I was certainly entertained. Later, Mama Pao comes into the workroom to tell our 7 remaining Slaysian divas that today's mini challenge will be to rate a queen, where the queens privately go fill out a ballot ranking their competition from best to worst. And yes, this is basically the same type of rate a queen thing that they've done in the past US and All-Star seasons, but without the giant fancy screen and visuals. And we see the results are as follows: Venus coming in at number 1, followed by Brigiding at spot number 2, and then 3rd and 4th place tied between Arizona and Suki, followed by Khianna, Yuhua, and then Siam. And because Venus is ranked on average number 1 by her peers, she wins this mini challenge and gains an advantage in the maxi challenge, the Snatch Elections, where she'll get 1 more minute to record her campaign ad than the other queens. Venus here also gets to dole out a disadvantage, who she gives to Siam, who now has 1 less minute to record her ad than everyone else, which is not really a big deal because it's 19 minutes versus 20, but that's what happened. And Venus justifies giving the disadvantage to Siam by saying, well, remember when Siam gave me the disadvantage a couple weeks ago in the Rusical? But as an aside, I thought it was pretty shady to give the queen who was ranked last in Rate a Queen a disadvantage for the challenge. And I think this really had nothing to do with Venus getting her back and more to do with Venus thinking that Siam is a witch and not trusting her. What was even crazier, I thought, was that they showed the queens the results of the Rate a Queen voting before they did the challenge, which, let's be real, could only have served to put queens in a bad mood. And sure enough, we've got Khianna crying because she was ranked 5th and Siam crying because she was put last. Suki then goes over to Siam and comforts her, saying that the results of the Rate a Queen had nothing to do with the outburst. But Venus DeLuxe, on the other hand, is having a conversation with Brigiding where she's saying that Siam's playing all this up for cameras and says Siam can't be trusted. And Khianna's reaction to getting ranked 5th is also heartbreaking, as we see her talking about how she feels she's giving her best and doesn't know where she's lacking, and says she is enjoying the competition but doesn't feel like she deserves to be there because everyone else is so good. And in an attempt to console Khianna, Venus goes over to her and says, "These challenges will forever dictate what will happen with our careers," which is probably the worst thing someone could have said to somebody crying about the pressures of being at RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm genuinely not sure if she was trying to mess with Khianna there or snap her out of this by reminding her how serious everything was and that she needed to focus. Maybe some of both, but as an aside, I was so sad to see Khianna crying like this because she has been tearing this competition up. I mean, she won the premiere challenge. And I think for several of the episodes, like the girl group challenge, for example, she justifiably could have had a top placement. It's just that the competition is so fierce and so close that a hair of difference is separating the tops from the safes. And that's the tea. Next up, we've got our mythological creature runways and Snatch Elections Snatch Game political ad campaign celebrity impersonation challenge to evaluate. And first up in the order they hit the runway, it's Arizona Brandy, who on the runway says she is giving Tik Tik realness. We had to look this up on Google, which says the Tik Tik is a mythical vampiric bird-like creature from Philippine folklore closely associated with the broader Aswang category of shape-shifting monsters. And y'all, the pictures of this thing are sick as hell. It's like kind of a gargoyle demon thing with a long, slippery tongue. Arizona's look, though, is less exciting than some of the visuals in the Google image search. We can see she's tried to capture the idea of the tongue in her runway by wrapping this red, maybe that's paper mache or some similar material, around her body. And where we see over her shoulders are what I think are supposed to be wings. Honestly, though, it's kind of hard to tell what exactly is going on with the components of this look, and I found it quite odd she chose to wear a nude illusion cat suit that was rhinestoned with this demonic paper mache wrapped around herself. And so, at risk of sounding rude, but doing it for the pun, this look sucked. Because, you know, vampire, it's a rot. In the challenge, though, Arizona was hilarious. She did this character, Lynn from Las Vegas, who is a Filipino woman who went viral for a clip she posted to YouTube, I think 15 years ago, where she was advertising that she was looking for applicants to be promotional models in Las Vegas, USA. Roll the clip.
Hi, I'm Lynn from Las Vegas Models. We're hiring new promotional models to work in Las Vegas, USA. If this sounds interesting, please email us so we can arrange a personal interview. Thanks.
And even though I hadn't actually seen the Lynn from Las Vegas video before watching her campaign ad, I still found her so funny. Arizona has great comedic timing and nails all the little words that are delivered off beat. Like the carefully timed thanks delivered direct to camera at crazy angles. I also enjoyed the irreverence of her yelling F off to the people watching the campaign ad, and loved how smart the joke about her showing off her platforms was, where she literally has stacks of shoes that she brings out and says, "This is my blank platform. This is my orange platform. Do you like my platform? Thanks." Arizona was hilarious. I love that she introduced me to a new iconic woman, Lynn from Las Vegas, and this performance was hot. Thanks. And next up, we've got Siam, who on the runway is dressed as Buddha's horse, which is the mythological creature that Buddha rode to become Buddha, which is a concept I found so intriguing because in all the years of hearing about Buddha, I never knew that he had a horse that took him to become a Buddha. And so I love that she taught me something new here. The look, though, is kind of, she's got this pretty crystal horse headpiece on and a long ponytail with a shiny silver jacket and some pants that I think are meant to look maybe like horse fur. But the thing about her look is that I'm not really getting she is the horse so much as she is vaguely dressed to honor the horse. And so I feel like she's not really quite meeting the brief, on top of the fact that just as a look, I don't love it. I think the proportions are odd. Stylistically, I don't feel a cohesive thread between the components of this outfit. So I'm gonna give this a and in the challenge, oh my god, in the challenge, Siam impersonates Lisa from Blackpink, but specifically Lisa from Blackpink in the Thai dancing scene from the TV series White Lotus in season 3, which explains why the hell she's dressed like this, kind of. Because really her look here in this campaign ad is a dramatic exaggeration of what Lisa looked like in White Lotus. But worse than the visual illusion of what she's serving, which includes a giant breastplate for no reason, is the actual characterization and content of this ad. She does some dancing and talks about how if you vote for her, you can have free meditation centers, and says she will cancel all luxury brands, and says there will be no more secrets, which all come together to form a very bizarre collection of campaign promises with no real jokes behind what she's saying. This was kind of just Siam going balls to the wall and saying random things. And so I'm gonna give this a and next up we've got Brigiding, who on the runway is serving us the Sarangai, a minotaur type creature who's half carabao and who she says is a protector of precious jewels. Brigiding's carrying a great axe down the runway and has decorated her horns on her head and chest with tons of crystals. And y'all, I was getting nervous for this runway until Brigiding came out, but she really killed this. I love the fantasy of her being the minotaur, but then also being this high drag beautiful woman. She looks mythical, intimidating, a little scary. It just did a really great job being the animal, like with the hooves and the furry legs. The only thing I found a little awkward about the look was some of the exposed chest plate stuff on her side when she's turning around. And I think she maybe could have decorated some of that with some jewels to cover it up, but overall this was a great look. I'm definitely gonna give it a hot. And in the Snatch Elections, she is playing Maria Ressa, who's a Filipino and American journalist who actually earned a Nobel Peace Prize in 2021 for fighting for freedom of expression. And Brigiding's got a little bit to prove this episode because in season 1, when her original Snatch Game almost got her sent home. And this challenge represents her chance to redo that and rewrite history, proving that she is good at comedy. Her campaign ad starts off with her doing the Filipino thing that the Filipinos do, where they say a big English word and then mock it, which is received really well by the judges. She says, in a modern world of social media and exponential lies, exponential, and then spends the rest of the ad doing a bunch of wordplay where she says things like she's LGBT, looking gorgeous but tired, and mimes a lot of special activities with the pit crew members who are featured in the video, and says that she should be elected because we need a president with tite, which is a word that means, well, look it up. I think this ad was super successful because her characterization was so good that I didn't see Brigiding. I only saw this wild imagination of what Maria Ressa would be in a sardonic political campaign ad. Ding, ding, ding. This was hot. And next we've got Suki doll, who on the runway is giving Ghost Cicada, a traditional folklore character from Thai and Chinese history that apparently takes the souls away from the living and dead. And y'all, this look is yummy. It's scrumptious. It is fashion. It's giving fashion. And she says this in her confessional, but it is very obviously paying homage to Mugler's 97 insect runway, with nods to his designs like the little antennae coming off her head and the sculpted severe bodice pieces. I love how creepy, hyper feminine, sexy, and weird this whole thing is. After having seen just 6 episodes of Suki doll's runway package, I have to say the other girls are lucky that runways don't really matter that much because her package is insane. I'm bugging out over this look. It's hot. For the Snatch Elections, Suki is impersonating Lin May, an exotic dancer who was apparently popular in the 70s and 80s and who is now, as Suki says, getting some TikTok recognition. I don't know. I don't use TikTok, so y'all will have to let me know if you've seen this person pop up on your feed. But what I actually love most about Suki's ad was that it was done in Spanish. Like, she really dedicated to the bit here. And her characterization of this raunchy lady was entertaining. She promises kisses and thigh-high boots for everyone and says the side effects of voting for her include an urge to wear sequins. And I'll say this ad wasn't laugh out loud funny in like a setup punchline joke way, but you could tell that Suki was really having fun with this characterization, and she truly did, I think, transform herself into someone new for this ad. So I'm gonna give this a safe hot. And also, side note, let's think about how, because this Snatch Game twist is a pre-recorded video, we're seeing queens do impersonations of people and using multiple languages, which never would have been possible in a traditional Snatch Game, because not everyone speaks Spanish, or not everyone speaks Tagalog, or not everybody speaks English. And next we've got Khianna, who on the runway is serving up some Arimonga realness, a lion-like creature known as the Moon Eater because it causes the lunar eclipse. And this look is almost there for me. Like, everything she did with the hair and torso, I think were good. I love the giant wig looking like a lion's mane. The horns looking decorated was real cute, but everything waist below was a rot. She was trying to do that thing where the costume has back legs because this is like a creature, but there was apparently not enough support built into the costume for those back legs to stand at the same height as her front legs. And so it looks like she's just kind of dragging half of a body with her down the runway, which is kind of sad, and honestly just totally kills the delivery of the look. And so I'm gonna give this look a wrap. But I will acknowledge the creativity and ideas were in the right place here. And for the Snatch Elections, Khianna plays the character of Mommy Tony Fowler, a Filipino family vlogger and rapper with millions of followers, who like I have never heard of before this. But in addition to these hour-long family vlogs that get millions of views, she also makes raunchy rap music videos that I guess some people have compared to the likes of Cardi B. In Khianna's ad, she says she's known for being a mother-tucking B-word and says if elected, she'll institute free birthing facilities and give out free enhancement surgeries. And of course, more raunchy things that I can't discuss on this channel without the risk of demonetization. But we did react to this challenge over on my Patreon at patreon.com/bussyqueen, and you can join and watch all my reactions to every episode of Drag Race I review by clicking the link below. See you there. And for all of the words and all the energy that Khianna put into this campaign ad, it all did fall very flat. And I think the big issue that stuck out to me in this ad was that I didn't feel Khianna was truly playing a character enough, so much as she was just playing a very excited version of her own self. In addition to the jokes in the ad having no layers and just being one-dimensional, raunchy nonsense. So I'm gonna give this campaign ad a wrap. And next up, it's Yuhua, who is embodying the white lion. And y'all, let's give a round of applause to Yuhua for this runway. Like, she is in a fully realized concept here, and she looks stunning. It's visually interesting. I love the scales contrasting with the fur. The textures are great. The shape is great. I also love how she has the crazy mouth extender thing on, making her look extra mythical creature-like. She's giving Haste. The other thing I was kind of confused about was her being a white lion. Like, I don't know which reference she was looking at to create this look, but I would say this is more kind of giving Chimera to me. But regardless, Yuhua looked great and was feeling her oats. I'm gonna give this look a hot. And in the challenge, she has another home run. She impersonates Anna Delvey, a Russian-born con artist who posed as a wealthy heiress to swindle over $4 million out of individuals, banks, and luxury hotels in New York City. And there is a Netflix documentary about her if you're interested to know more. But y'all, Yuhua's ad was so smart. She's going in and out of this really bad Russian accent and starts off her ad by saying, electing a con artist right now is very popular. Shout out to the USA. That got me, gal. She also had some other great lines like, I'm a Republican, so I have my loaded G word ready. And said, I vow to free our prisoners, starting with myself. And even advertises that she's selling a book teaching others how to scam called The Road to Frauddom, AKA capitalism. Yuhua did a really great job, I think, of layering in relevant political commentary and poking fun at the current state of affairs of really politics all over the globe, but very specifically in the US. And just overall, Yuhua did a stellar job. She nailed the brief, she understood the assignment, she did the homework, the extra credit, and turned it in on time. This was hot. And last but certainly not least tonight, it's Venus DeLuxe, who on the runway gives us the gag of the season. She is the master of illusion on the runway, where she here is dressed as the gnome of feng shui, which is a creature meant to promote good luck, protection, and balance, and where she is like 2 foot tall when she comes out onto the stage. This visual gag was gaggy. I think she has her hands in like the feet of this little body puppet, and then her body is all covered in a black cape that's trailing behind the little gnome costume. Like, this runway is insane. It's so much fun. It's a good gag. It's great for TV. And all the silly little things she did, like sticking her tongue out and throwing the feet in the air, were just the cherry on top of this presentation. This was incredible. This was drag, and I loved it. This was hot. And in the Snatch Elections, she's impersonating Inday Sara, the current vice president of the Philippines, who's actually resigned from her cabinet positions and is apparently awaiting final judgment on her impeachment from February of this year. Basically, this person is a very controversial person in Philippines politics, and Venus spends her entire ad just tearing her apart. She starts off her ad by revealing the current budget, where she rattles off some names and then reveals that actually that's confidential, making fun of the fact that this person apparently spent a bunch of money in places that were untraceable, and then ends by singing and making a pun on, am I impeached in pitch. And also, on my first watch through of this ad, I didn't really get what was going on because I had no idea who this person was, much less the scandals they were involved in. But after doing some research on what was going on with this political figure and rewatching this ad, I found it a lot funnier. Venus was bold, witty, and funny in her parody of this person, but I don't really feel like this met the brief in the way that some of the other queens truly did, like Arizona and Yuhua. But I'm sure because of the scandals, this is a bit that will land really well with Filipino viewers. I'm still, of course, gonna give this ad a hot. Which brings us to our placements. Get your placements, get your placements. Where we have Suki and Arizona called out as safe, which gagged me because Arizona, I think, definitely deserved a top spot this week. And the tops are called out as Venus DeLuxe, Brigiding, and, in a gag of the season, Yuhua. Which to me, kind of felt unnecessary to do a top 3. Like, did we really need to do that? I don't think so. If they wanted to have Brigiding in the top and Yuhua, I think that would have been acceptable. But including Venus there, I don't know, maybe felt a little political. But that's just my perspective as a US viewer, and y'all have to let me know how you read all of this in the comments below. Which means our bottoms this week are, of course, Siam and Khianna, which I think was more than fair. Siam's ad was definitely the worst of the bunch, and Khianna's just wasn't funny. I think another option for the bottom could have been Suki, but she was overall better than Khianna, so I was really okay with this judging. But back in the workroom where our bottoms are making their case to stay, they're kind of not making a case to stay. Khianna starts off the conversation by saying she's tired and sorry for disappointing everybody, where she goes on to say that she's just not herself, she's overthinking everything, and feels like a failure, and says if they want to choose her lipstick, go ahead. She's giving up and she wants to go home. Like, girl, the inner saboteur really got her this episode. She was in her feelings, which again, I really hate to see because she has been doing stellar in the competition, and I hope on her watching back this season, she sees that. But thankfully, she does end up doing a 180 on this, and after taking a break and leaving the workroom, comes back to the group and says that she does want to stay, and that she hopes to find herself and become the best version of herself that she can be. Siam, on the other hand, kind of just sits there being mostly silent, at least in the edit of the episode that we saw, and ultimately just says, I want to stay as well, where she then proceeds to start singing. It was very strange, and I don't know what was going on with her this episode, but clearly something was bothering her, or she was in her head. And she was also dealing with Vinas, who is being a big op to her this episode, because as she's singing this song about I'm safe, Vinas shushes her and tells her to stop chanting. Like, these two had some serious beef in real life. For real. Anyways, because we've got a top 3 this week, that means we've got a 3-way lip sync, which usually I hate when they do 3-way lip syncs because there's so much going on. But this 3-way lip sync to Out of My Head by Benny, I actually really loved. And I think that was mostly because Yuhua did a stellar job from start to finish, and she just had such a great episode overall. But Yuhua had an incredible stage presence, dominated the actual lip sync with fun choreo like the tick-tick-tock thing she was doing, and did an interesting gag, pulled out the lyrics to the rap breakdown section of this song that I think were written on the piece of paper that she was reading and lip syncing, which in a normal lip sync might have been uncouth and, I don't know, against the rules. But in this particular lip sync, there were so many lyrics in this track that I don't think we could have expected the queens to seriously learn every single one of them. And so it was actually really funny to just see her pull out this piece of paper and read it, while the other 2 queens had no idea what the lyrics were and were just doing a bunch of this. Brigiding did okay, but I think failed to capture the spotlight, and Vinas was a close second to Yuhua, but honestly, the all-black outfit she was wearing, I kept losing her on the stage, and my eyes just kept going to Yuhua. She ate it up and deserved that win. Yuhua then reveals that the queen's lipstick she has chosen to sashay away is Siam's. And so we say goodbye to another international competitor on this season, which of course means that Yuhua and Suki doll are the last international representation on Drag Race Philippines' Slaysian Royale. Before the episode is over though, Mama Pao announces that starting next week, the Slaysian Royale rules will be lifted and that the challenge will be the lip sync Lollapalooza Slaysian Smackdown, which I guess means that the judges will be deciding who goes home from the bottoms in the Smackdown. TBD. Considering my final thoughts on this episode, I think the Snatch Game twist here was great, because it's no secret that Snatch Game has been getting stale. We rarely see great performances anymore, and just good performances are hard to come by. As to why that is though, I think there are a few factors at play. I think Drag Race casts these days, generally speaking, have less experience in clubs with mics, working crowds, and doing improv. Plus, I think the idea that every drag queen has a celebrity impersonation in their back pocket is actually an antiquated view of drag. Back in the day, 10-15 years ago, we had queens like Coco doing Janet, Derek Barry doing Brittany, and so on, and like those were the reasons primarily that these queens got big bookings and did long-running shows. But these days, drag queens are famous for being themselves, like they are their own celebrity. And so I think the need to have a celebrity impersonation as a gag for a live show just isn't there. Plus, doing a recorded and edited sketch is just much more relevant to the skills people and queens already have in this era of social media. And so I don't think Snatch Game should like go away forever in its old form, but I welcome this new twist and would love to see it on a US season. And overall, I'm still finding myself loving watching Slaysian Royale. It is so entertaining, and I think that is in part due to the seriousness that the queens approach this franchise with. It's cutthroat, and these queens want to win so badly, and it shows, and that makes good TV. And lastly, for my hottest hots this episode in the challenge, I'm gonna give it to Yuhua, and on the runway, Venus DeLuxe. I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hots, and this week, they agreed. They voted for Yuhua on the challenge and Venus on the runway. And lastly, I want to give an extra special shout out to Felicia, Laura, Matthew Burns, Ashton, JBR, and Will and Tanner, who were all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye.